Hey, gang, what's going on? So, we're at the tail end of the NFL Combine, looking to see who's, some of the best fits, who we want our teams to draft, and what else. And we're gonna get to free agency as well. But today, I'm gonna start my series. I want to focus on the NFC, okay? And we're gonna talk about the greatest needs for the NFC. The team needs. We're going to go through every team and every division for 2023 and 2024. Because at some point, I'm going to go. I'm going to do free agency, best fits for each team. We're going to do free agency predictions. We're going to do a mock draft and all this type of stuff. So if you're an NFL fan, if you're a football fan, it's your first time here, welcome to the channel. I also have a baseball channel called 161 River Ave, where we do this and we do a lot of live streaming. I'm trying to get this channel to 1,000 subscribers so that we can actually live stream, which I know I definitely want to do with a lot of football fans. So if you haven't subscribed, I hope that you do that. I thank you for that as well. If you enjoy the content, hit the thumbs up. But let's focus now. Let's focus on the NFC West. All right. San Francisco Giants were 13-4 last year. I mean, these seem to be just going through and researching the teams, these seem to be the needs that they have identified that they need. So and if you're looking at for the 49ers, a cornerback, help on the offensive line. They got to decide on their quarterback. I mean, they've got, from Trey, you've got Brock, you got Jimmy there too. So there's a couple guys that they need to figure out who they're gonna go with as starting quarterback and who they might move at some point. And again, since these guys have late picks in each round of the draft, they have to draft pretty smart. So that's what I've identified for the San Francisco 49ers. Moving on to the Seattle Seahawks. Quarterback, I mean, Russell Wilson's there. I mean, they had Geno, but, I think they're going to look to upgrade the quarterback as well. Safety, edge, they always, like to bring in strong defensive players as well, and the draft pass rusher as well, which I think they'll probably get in the draft. And they generally hardly ever draft in the first round, but they have a different situation this year, so they generally draft in the back of the rounds as well. Moving over to the LA Rams. But the Seahawks were 9-8, by the way. The Rams are 5-12, so they have a lot of help. And they went from Super Bowl to 5-12, which is a pretty precipitous drop. So a guard, they definitely need some offensive line help. Left tackle, cornerback, wide receiver, they need some weapons over there for Stafford. Wide receiver, running back, safety, kicker, defensive tackle. So across the board, they need a lot of help offensively and defensively. So moving on to Arizona Cardinals, they're 4-13 this year. They need some help. They obviously need offensive weapons all across the board for Kyler Murray. But they also need offensive line to protect them. They need edge as well. So some defensive attack machines would be a wise idea for the Arizona Cardinals. And again, load them up in the comments what you think. If I'm missing any position that the teams might need, I want to know what you think, so load up the comments, okay? Moving on to the NFC South, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are going to be without Tom Brady, who announced his retirement finally. Won a division 8-9, so they're going to need an offensive linebacker, interior linebacker, and outward linebacker as well. Safety, corner, quarterback. They got to figure out who they're going to play a quarterback now. Offensive line, defensive line. So again, outer linebacker, inner linebacker. So outside, I should say, inside. So they got across the board. They need help everywhere. Carolina Panthers, and I don't know if they're going to be sticking with, their quarterback situation either. They were 7-10 this past year as well. They need to decide on a quarterback, offensive line, tight end, running back, defensive end, defensive tackle, corner, safety, a punter. So again, another team that has a boatload of guys and hardly any experienced veterans for these positions. So moving on to New Orleans now, who have lost Sean Payton, who's moved on to coach the Denver Broncos now. So they're 7-10 as well as the Carolina and the last place team as well. They need a guard. They need a quarterback. They got to figure that out one too. They might go with Geno for all we know. Corner, wide receiver, safety. They're not as desperate as some of these other teams in teams of positions because they always tend to have a well-balanced attack, but they still have needs. Atlanta Falcons, they're 7-10. They need a wide receiver, and they haven't really replaced Julio since he's been gone. So corner, a quarterback, guard, corner, edge. Again, a lot of defensive pieces here, mixed with some offensive weapons as well. But again, the quarterback. A lot of these teams need a QB. Look at Tampa, QB. Carolina, QB. New Orleans, a QB. Atlanta, QB. That whole division needs an upgraded quarterback. So that's how rough it is. Now let's pivot over to the next one, the NFC North. Minnesota Vikings. They were finished at 13-4. Very formidable team. Still has Kirk Cousins there. They need a defensive line. They need offensive line help. Safety, tight end, a weapon for Cousins, linebacker, and they got to figure out what they're going to do with QB as well. Edge, running back, corner, wide receiver, across the board. Detroit, 9-8. They need defensive line, corner, edge, safety, linebacker. They need weapons for their quarterback as well. So Green Bay, who's going to be likely be without Aaron Rodgers. They were 8-9. They're going to need to decide who's going to be the next quarterback. Need a running back, wide receiver, tight end, offensive line, tackle, edge, defensive line, cornerback, safety, special teams. Across the board, they are hurting. But most of all, they're going to need a QB. Chicago, they need to surround the quarterback with some weapons, the young quarterback. They were 3-14. Offensive line, defensive line, wide receiver, corner, linebacker, running back, tight end. Again, hurting across the board. So well-balanced needs for all these teams in NFC North. And let's finish with the NFC East. Dallas Cowboys, they were 12-5. Wide receiver, corner, defensive line, offensive tackle. They need to protect Dak. They got to protect their running back. They got to protect their wide receiver. So they need some help. Not as much. I actually need more help than the Philadelphia Eagles, who won at 14-3. They were the Super Bowl runner-up. They're a very well-balanced attack. Again, they need a backup quarterback. That's BQB. Okay, somebody who behind Jalen Hurts. A corner, safety, edge, offensive guard, linebacker, running back, punt returner. So kind of pieces all across the board, but they have the weapons to kind of get to that Super Bowl again. But some secondary pieces would be good. The New York Giants, who had a pleasantly surprising season, they made the playoffs. They were 9-7-1. Running back, they got to figure out it's going to be Daniel Jones or another quarterback. Wide receiver, linebacker, we'll see. And lastly, the Washington Commanders, they were 8-8. Decide on quarterback, running back, tight end, wide receiver, defensive line, corner, linebacker, safety, special teams. They're probably the most needy team in the NFC East. So this is what I have for you folks. Let me know what you think. Any particular teams. We're going to go to the AFC next, and then we'll start to identify the best fits for each team in free agency. And like I said, we'll do a mock draft. We'll do free agent predictions and all that stuff. So I hope that you enjoy the content enough to subscribe to the channel. Have a great week, everybody, and let's get busy.